Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, I got a fun and exciting video for you guys today because we're taking a look at the NES to Super Nintendo conversion of Super C. That is because Infidelity, a ROM hacker that I've talked about a bunch of times on the channel, finished up his entire conversion with MSU1 support. And to say that Infidelity always nails the brief when it comes to these conversions would be an understatement. Basically, Infidelity and Rumble Mince, another ROM hacker, go toe-to-toe even though they are friends, giving us some of the best NES to Super Nintendo conversions around. There's so many new features in this game, so many different soundtrack options, and better performance because it is on the Super Nintendo versus the NES. If you like Super C and you haven't played the version of the game yet that I'm featuring here, you 100% owe it to yourself to do so, because these ROM hacks basically take what was on NES, improve it in every single direction, and then give you back an absolutely Hall of Fame first ballot good game and an even better presentation than you've ever seen it before. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But obviously Super C is one of those games. I remember playing it back in the day, maybe not new, but maybe I got it used, and I absolutely, as a kid, fell in love with it. But I will say on the NES it can definitely lag a little bit, and that is one of the first benefits of taking something from the NES and moving it over to the Super Nintendo. You obviously just have more horsepower to be able to run the game, and you also should have some sprite reduction on the flickering side of things as well, just giving you a cleaner presentation. But the big thing about these ports, in my opinion, honestly, is the MSU1 soundtrack. And when I say soundtrack, I really mean multiples, because Infidelity has been working with a bunch of different musicians, getting a bunch of different sounds for these games and incorporating them into a menu system. So when you start the game, you can actually pick whatever soundtrack you want. And I will give you a sample of that in just a moment, but I will say Infidelity went even further than usual by actually putting in speech explaining what exactly each and every single soundtrack option is. I love that he's basically decided to even expand upon his own work, giving us new features in these ports. And this is why I say on recent videos, it's why retro gaming is making a comeback, and that isn't to say that retro gaming went anywhere, but ports like this and other projects that have been done in like the last 18 to 24 months are bringing new people into the retro gaming sphere, because a lot of people who didn't grow up with these things are sitting online talking about the fact that the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X generation, this really is feeling a little bit boring, so they go back to these games here just to try them out and end up finding out that some of these retro games are every bit as good, if not better, than the stuff that we get in the modern era. And if you're wondering, yes, there is color palette support here as well, and that really is the fun thing about a conversion like this. You can play the game bone stock, you can go ahead and just load it up, you can pick the original soundtrack, and you can basically just get better performance with it running on the Super Nintendo. Or you can change up the look, you can change up the feel, and you can change up the soundtrack, basically giving you a buffet style, make your own plate when it comes to exactly the experience you want. And this is the menu that you're going to see when you load up the game. And I love that they have that alien in the background, kind of looks like the Alien Queen, with all of these different soundtracks available. And like I said, at least in this version, I've never heard it in any of Infidelity's ROM hacks before, you get actual speech explaining what each and every soundtrack is going to be like. So go ahead and listen to that, and I'll be right back with more.
Enjoy the 2026 Super Nintendo styled soundtrack on the MSU1 by Mikey P. Enjoy the Konami VRC6 arrangements by Ryo Sakazaki fans. Enjoy the 2019 guitar playthrough on the MSU1 by Krzysztof Slowakowski.
Now, I'm not exactly sure where that voice comes from. Almost sounds like it could be a text-to-speech, but also sounds like maybe somebody just has like a Walter Cronkite-style 1950s voice. So Infidelity, if that is your voice, absolutely keep rocking it. And if not, leave me a comment and tell me where it's from, because one of those things I could have asked you on Twitter, but I kind of like just imagining how things get done. It is a little bit of the fun for me. And obviously we're going to go right into the next soundtrack sample, because a lot of what this is the MSU1 enhancements. And if you don't watch the channel, you're not familiar with those, it's basically a hypothetical or theoretical chip or piece of silicon that you can play with via emulation, via FPGA, or even on flash cards that never actually existed in the Super Nintendo era. It gives you basically the ability to have near to CD quality audio. It isn't Redbook, it is PCM, and in some instances it is an even higher sample rate, at least to my memory, but it basically makes a Super Nintendo CD exist that never existed before. So go ahead and listen to one of the soundtrack samples, then I'll go ahead later on in the video and switch to a different soundtrack for you guys to enjoy. But trust me, this music is 10 out of 10 and it sounds absolutely incredible coming out of this new MSU1 port for Super C. Enjoy! Now, even if you've never played the original Super C before and you've been anywhere near an NES or even a Super Nintendo, I shouldn't have to tell you that that audio quality there is of a higher sample rate and a higher fidelity than anything that the Super Nintendo or especially the NES can put out. And it really does kind of make these games feel like modern remasters that would be released by Konami. But you have to remember, Konami's no longer the company we remember from back in the day. Sure, there's a new Castlevania coming out and they're making some new Metal Gear along with Silent Hill, but the Konami that made all these amazing 8 and 16 and even 32-bit classics, that company is just long dead and gone. They still make the primary money in their company by patch slot machines. So you're more than likely to see a new Contra game that's actually a slot machine in Japan than you are to see a new Contra game come out of Konami. So that is why it's so incredible that somebody like Infidelity brings this to us, because again, Super C is just one of those games. If you played NES back in the day, or if you've ever gone through a list of like the top 50 or 100 NES games of all time, if this game isn't on that list, then you know the list really isn't worth reading, because this is just straight up one of those NES classics. But again, it can be even better on the Super Nintendo, and trust me, this isn't an easy task whatsoever, converting the code over to run on the Super Nintendo, getting all of the sound working, all of the sound effects, all of the input, and of course all the game logic and graphics as well. This is hard mode, and I love that people out there do it, and honestly it basically is just Infidelity and Rumble Mints, at least as I can tell. I don't know if anyone else is actually making these conversions, so if you do know, leave me a comment down below. And big thanks to Kilter Music for helping with the capture this week as well. I told him I had an easy capture for him, and I basically sent him Super C knowing full well this game is not easy whatsoever. It's classic NES era hard, and that has not been changed here whatsoever. And that really is the good thing about these conversions. They don't change anything about the game that you remember from back in the day as far as how it controls, the difficulty, or what you need to do to be successful. It is the exact same Super C on NES, except it runs a hell of a lot better, has a new soundtrack, and a ton of other features, so it really is the best of both worlds. I always love asking this question in videos. If you could snap your fingers right now and make one NES game instantaneously appear as an SNES conversion with a full MSU1 soundtrack, which one would it be? Speaking of soundtracks, here's the second sample, and I'll be right back. And the best part about something like this is if you don't like the soundtrack sample you just heard, you can go ahead and pick any one of them out of there, because it's going to be a hard rock kind of metal soundtrack, which is usually what I would pick, and that is why I actually sent it over to Kilter, because I knew he'd pick something completely different, because my impulse is if you can give me some wailing guitars in a soundtrack in an NES game, that's going to be what I pick 10 out of 10 times and twice on Sundays. Just one of those things always does it for me. And if you've never played Super C before, 1, you owe it to yourself to play. It's absolutely amazing. And 2, if you're going to pick a version of the game to play, there's absolutely no reason, in my opinion, to choose anything other than Infidelity's new MSU ROM hack. It is just that good, and it's so exciting that we get stuff like this. And again, if you want to check this one out, I left a link to Infidelity's Twitter down below where you can download the entire thing. The only reason I don't put the direct link here is it basically comes with everything, and that is something that isn't exactly going for the rules around here. I try to be very careful about that, but trust me, if you just scroll down, maybe to his 3rd or 4th tweet, as of recording of this video, you'll be able to find it for yourself perfectly fine. And again, it'll run on real hardware, it'll run on Mr. FPGA, it'll run on software emulation, it'll probably run on your toaster if you basically put it into the slot and say sweet nothings into its ear. Point being is you can take this thing for a ride wherever you want to. The only wrong way to play it again is not to play it in the first place. And I really hope one day Konami remembers that Contra exists and they at least let another developer give us an amazingly hard 2D entry in the franchise. Give me that Dark Souls Bloodborne level difficulty back in a 2D Contra game, and I would be a very happy retro gaming fan. But short of that, we're done. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.